Introducing the all-new Italiano range of pizza. Pizza Ultimo. Pizza Hut.
Moving on to more local news, Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Pires says that international pressure is exerted on Sri Lanka due to a difference of perception about what is adequate progress in a given set of circumstances. Meanwhile, the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Michelle Sison, says that economic progress around the world depends on strong diplomatic ties. These views were expressed during a meeting held in Colombo today.
A luncheon meeting organized by the American Chamber of Commerce titled Views from the US Ambassador was held today.
Increasingly, economic progress around the world depends on strong diplomatic ties, and diplomatic progress increasingly depends on strong economic ties. There are three basic tenets of U.S. economic policy, and AmCham is involved in each one of these. The first is a strong commitment to the protection and enforcement of IPR, of intellectual property rights. The second is a strong commitment to CSR, corporate social responsibility. And the third is support for and the creation of a level playing field in which all companies can compete under the same rules.
Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Pires also spoke at the occasion.
If you look at the voting pattern in the Human Rights Council, it is quite evident that countries are voting not because of any concern that they have with regard to the situation in my country, but simply because, very frankly, they cannot say no to the United States. That is, countries that are dependent on the US for security. They have told us this. How can we say no to the United States? When we are being canvassed, we are dependent on the US to be protected against other countries which may be challenging our security and sovereignty. And there are huge economic interests to do with trade and investment. So, the voting pattern is predicated entirely upon bilateral issues between the mover of the resolution and the countries whose votes are being canvassed. Now, many objective people see that as an unjust situation, because it means that Sri Lanka is only the stage on which this drama is being enacted. Now, that is something that we are very worried about, and we want the international community to reflect on that. I think the crux of the problem, in my own view, is a difference of perception about what is adequate progress in a given set of circumstances. It is my contention that when you consider the magnitude of the challenges that had to be confronted and the brevity of the period which elapsed since the cessation of hostilities, the progress that has been made by any standard is reasonable. Adopt a comparative standard. Look at post-conflict situations in other parts of the world. How long has it taken? And has there been this degree of pressure exerted on any of those countries? Now, this is the crux of the disagreement. It's nothing more than that. That is the crux of the disagreement. I don't think it is a Herculean task to address that issue in a manner that is mutually acceptable and in a way that would sustain and strengthen the relationship between Sri Lanka and the United States.